Welcome back, boys. Today we have Piers Morgan Uncensored.
Underpaid, if drastically underpaid labor. When you talk about a two-income household being somehow instituted by feminism, you're failing to take into account that even in America, the kind of the glamorization of this golden age of marriage in the 1950s to the early 1960s, which the marriage historian Stephanie Coots calls the long decade. This coincided with an increase in women in the workplace. So it's not as if there was this golden age where women where married women, weren't working. For a lot of that, actually, the labor that is required to support the middle class has always been relied on for poor and disenfranchised women, largely in America, black women.
All right. Look.
For a start,
I don't want to.
let me just finish.
Well, we all have to speed things up a little bit.
And the economy, the downturn in the economy, the boom that happened after the Second World War was unsustainable. It was a wonderful time between around 1940 to 1970 for white working class men in particular. And then it began to
but I have a question
rapidly.
for you.
One of the reasons why women had to go into the workforce was because they had to help support their families.
Okay, I have a question for you, Clementine. It's a very simple question, but I think it'll be an interesting question to ask you. What is a woman?
I can answer that. A woman is feminine.
I'm not going down the path of debating trans women with you.
Trans women are women. Trans women. I asked you what a woman is.
Okay, I'll tell you. I know that.
Like, look at it like this. Man is masculine, masculinity. Woman is femininity, feminine. So it is actually possible to meet a woman who is like biologically a woman, but acts, speaks, walks like a man. You don't consider that a woman, do you?
Because this is your tactic. This is what you do. What is a woman? I'll tell you what a woman is.
It shouldn't be controversial.
I'll tell you what a woman is. A woman is someone who has at least at one point in her life felt scared of a man.
Sorry?
But you guys never want to talk about that.
Hang on.
You guys never want to talk about that.
So any man who's ever felt afraid of another man is a woman?
No.
What
That's not what I'm saying.
This is exactly why.
What is this like brainless take, man?
You're wearing that shirt that says repeal. You should put the 19th under it. It's unbelievable. What are you talking about? A woman, anybody who has ever at one point been afraid of a man, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Do you have an actual argument here?
Would you let me finish speaking? Or do you
how
just
long is it going to take for you to finish?
Long?
How long is it going to take for you to finish?
Yes, do you really just invite people on your show to be interrupted like this?
Well, Clementine, look, with all due respect, we did do a bit of research into what you said about me in the past, so I think I'm entitled to give you...
So you already know what I think about that question, because I've written about you asking that question.
Yes, you have. In fact, you said, like, all of the big...
So why would you ask it again when you know what my answer to that is?
To enlighten the audience who have no idea what you're talking about, or me, like all of the bigots, that's me apparently, currently jumping on the transphobic shuttle to Ding Dong Station. Morgan wants you to believe this is about fairness and equality, specifically fairness and equality in women's sports. That was exactly what it was about. And the problem is, Clementine, with all due respect to you, the reality is...
I doubt it. I doubt it's coming with due respect.
I'll treat you with perfect respect, but your inability to just simply state what a woman actually is, particularly given 2 weeks ago in the UK, the Supreme Court made it very clear that a woman is a biological female. That's it. It's a scientific fact. The fact that you can't answer that is part of the problem.
I'd like to know, the thing is that I would like to know why you, in particular, are so obsessed with this definition of what a woman is. Firstly, how does it impact you in any way?
Because, like, I've seen children get the wrong message, and I've actually seen, like, little girls thinking that they're boys. And it's like, oh man, like that's not a sign of a healthy society.
Secondly,
I have a 13-year-old daughter.
As a woman,
I have a 13-year-old daughter. And if my 13-year-old daughter decides she wants to compare, you ask me a question. You ask me a question. I'm going to answer you. Well,
not pre-washed.
If you don't want an answer, don't ask me a question. Here's my answer to your question. I have a 13-year-old.
You asked me. You won't let me
answer. I have a 13-year-old daughter. I have 7 nieces, right? And some of them are very.
Expert, then,
so, if I may answer your question, some of them are very good at sport. right? The idea
Right.
that they would one day have their dream of potentially an Olympic place or a Team GB place, whatever it may be, a world.
Yeah, I mean, why did I put these like why do you put a man in a like women's sport? It's like don't you support women? Like don't you want them to have their own like space and sport? Why you gotta ruin it?
Championship place taken from them by a biological male, I think is completely outrageous. And by the way, so does most of the world now, which is why there's been a reversing, screeching U-turn on this particular subject. But I come back to my question to you. Your inability to say what a woman is, and yet here you are lecturing women on how they should behave as women, is completely perverse.
I think that reducing women specifically to your biological deciding of what you think a woman is.
It's called science. It's their chromosomes. You have different chromosomes to me. It's not me saying that. I'm not writing.
I'm sure you're not the first.
I'm not writing the science.
I'm sure I'm not the first person to tell you about intersex people. So how do you?
I'm not talking about intersex people.
No. This is all wrong anyway. The intersex is not a third sex. It's not a third sex. That's ridiculous. There is no third sex. There's two sexes, male, female, categorized scientifically. Intersex is not a third sex. Anybody can look that up in 5 seconds. Total lie. How did you not know that, by the way? How did you not know intersex is not a third sex?
I didn't say that intersex with a third
You did.
Sex. But
yeah,
intersex
that's exactly
people
what the
exist. Domestic labor. This is the
who did most of the domestic chores
in my house?
Yeah,
me.
You did.
Me.
Okay, and yeah. Rachel, who does most of them in yours?
That's the reality for.
Well, hang on.
For most
Rachel,
who
does the domestic stuff in your house, Rachel?
I do absolutely all of it, and the thing I want to say to
Clementine, very similar. I mean, it seems to me you're both.
I care far less about women's fulfillment in careers than I care about children and how they're being raised. And I want her to justify to me why we should be paying low-wage daycare workers to raise our children rather than doing it ourselves. How does it make sense to take your duty of motherhood and simply put it on a different random woman? How does that system make sense? Why should we tell women to do that?
If you would like to stay at home and raise your children,
you're not answering
totally
fine.
You're not answering the question.
My question is, how is it good for children
it's a question
for
of
them
choice.
to be raised by
it's a question of choice.
No,
it's actually not worse.
No.
It's not worse for children to be raised by working mothers. That's also the facts back that up. There is no study that suggests.
It's kind of sad now that like you can't, like, these people can't take care of their children anymore. They have to put it like at school or daycare. It's like
women who work.
Listen, lady,
raise children who are less happy. That is not true.
There are no facts on planet Earth that back up that single mother households have better outcomes. That's one. Two, that outsourcing your. Hang on. Let me finish, lady. If you outsource the raising of your children, you're already making yourself a single mother. Just so you know. Here's what's going on. Just so that you understand.
Are you a single father because your wife raises your children for you?
Lady.
Excuse me, don't call me lady.
Can you let me finish? Can anybody finish a point? Or
I don't know.
only
Do you have a point?
Are only you allowed to? I'm trying to make one. So
you don't seem to be making a point, Andrew.
If you outsource your children's raising to strangers, answer Rachel's question and tell her how that makes more sense than having the child raised by their own biological mother. Actually answer.
85% of youth in prison come from fatherless homes. 71% of high school dropouts are from fatherless homes. 90% of homeless and runaway children are from fatherless homes.
Well, in my case, it makes more sense because I need to make money to pay my bills to raise my child. But in many other families, it makes...
What if you depended on your husband's income?
Do you see the problem of how we ended up here?
Now it's my turn to finish. But actually, again, if you knew what you were talking about, if you actually read anything about the data on these things rather than just reaching into your gut for a feeling that feels true to you.
Let's go over the data. Show me the data that shows that if you outsource childcare,
if there was a father in the household, you
Let
wouldn't
me
have
bring
that
Emily
issue.
in, because Emily's been, again, Emily's been, hang on.
There is no statistical data to support the fact that children raised by mothers who work are less happy than children raised by mothers who stay at home.
Yes, there is. There's tons of data.
I would never try and stop.
Like, what? That's just common sense. Like, of course the child is going to be more happy being raised by their mother or father instead of some random person.
Rachel,
there's so much overwhelming data.
Children. That's her choice. That's her choice to do that.
There is so much overwhelming data.
Because that's her choice.
All right, let me bring Emily in. Let me bring Emily in.
Piers knows that.
Emily was trying to say something.
You don't want your daughters and your nieces being forced to stay at home to raise families.
I don't want
my
kids to be forced to do anything. No, Emily, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I'm not going to argue data with either of you guys. I'm sure you know more than me, but I can say that my father is my hero and the most important person in my life. And if I didn't have him and he wasn't in the household, I don't know where I would be today. And my girlfriends who were raised without fathers in the household, I do see them struggle in different ways when it comes to dating and all these different things. And it's funny because it's like they do make a point. Like if there was a father in the household supporting you, I think a lot of these issues wouldn't be what they are. So I think there's points to both of these things.
Okay, let me ask Andrew.
But supporting in what way?
Is your name Andrew? Anyway, go ahead, Piers.
Yeah, well, Andrew, I was going to ask Andrew, when Rachel said that she does all domestic chores, is there anything you do? I mean, do you put the bins out? Do you the trash out? I mean, what do you do anything?
I don't do shit. That's what I got a wife for.
Maybe a little yard work.
But not only that.
If something breaks, there's yard work. That's about it.
Yeah, cars need repair, something like that. But I'm not going to do household chores. That's what I got married for. I don't want to do household chores. Not only that, on top of that, let's just point a couple things out. She's absolutely wrong. Here's what the stats actually say, that if a child is raised in a two-parent household, they're going to have way better outcomes. And if they have a present mother who's more present with them, they're going to have way better outcomes.
Dog, I grew up in like foster homes and like basically alone. And even I can see like growing up with parents, like the kids turn out so much better with both parents.
Every single data point backs this up. The outsourcing of children to public school, especially for 8 hours a day, is absurd. Stop. Let me finish the point. Let me finish the point, and then you can respond. Let me finish the point.
I've got to say, Clementine, as someone who doesn't like being interrupted, you interrupt a lot.
Why is it that you won't let me finish the point?
I got a text message from your producer, Piers, telling me to interrupt if I disagreed with anyone.
Yeah.
So take it up with them.
No, but I think that what's changed since that text message is you've made a point of objecting to being interrupted. So I don't think you can do that.
And yet I keep being interrupted. Piers, so that's just the state of play right now.
Why don't you practice what you preach and don't interrupt Andrew when he's trying to finish his point?
Yeah, so look, I've just finished the point.
Would he make a point? He hasn't made one yet.
Yeah, I just did. I made multiple points. All the data points are against you on this.
He's made the point that he doesn't respect his wife.
You're still not, lady.
You still can't
stop talking.
He didn't want to do anything for himself.
You still can't stop talking, lady. This is why it should say the 19th under that shirt. You cannot even be quiet long enough to hear a counterpoint. Here's the counterpoints. The data you're citing, you don't have any when it comes to outcomes for children, when it comes to outsourcing.
Yeah, she's just pulling it out of her ass, like.
They're raising.
Incorrect.
None.
Incorrect.
No. Show me any that shows that you sending your kids outsourcing.
Which data are you citing?
Would you stop so that I can finish the question?
No, tell me.
I'm trying to at least finish the question. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. One more time. All data points to the fact that if you outsource the raising of your children, especially when they're young. You can't just stand there and
say all data.
Like, why is she fighting, like, just common sense? Just, like, why is she fighting reality this much?
You actually have to cite it.
Cite any data that shows.
Say that.
Cite any data ever that shows that you outsourcing the care of your child is good for the child. Any. Yeah, that's right.
Kuntz.
Nothing. You got Stephanie Kuntz doesn't say that. You're lying through your teeth.
Do you even know who Stephanie Kuntz is?
Yes. Do you mean the feminist writer?
Who Stephanie Kuntz is.
The feminist writer, Stephanie Kuntz?
You clearly don't even know what you're talking about.
I don't.
I can tell you.
You're not even interested. You're not even interested enough in the topic.
I'm sorry.
You're not even interested enough to respect
the topic.
Who's
Stephanie Kuntz? Let's make sure we got it right. Who's Stephanie Kuntz?
Stephanie Kuntz is an historian.
A historian.
world-renowned historian into marriage and the
Never heard of her.
destruction
And
of the
isn't a
American
feminist,
family.
right? Isn't a feminist? I just want to make sure we're clear.
I have no idea if she's a feminist or not. I know that she's an
Well,
historian.
then why would you try to make a refutation about what I'm saying? Clearly you don't know enough about the topic. Right? It's silly.
I have the data.
I'm only allowed to.
I
I'm
have
only
some
allowed
data
to
for
reference
her if she
feminists.
wants it.
I'm not allowed to reference historians. Is that we're only? So
If
I'm
you
only
have
allowed
a
to
historian
reference
who's
feminists.
also
You're
a feminist,
clearly only allowed to reference.
if you have a historian who's
podcasters.
also a feminist, they're biased, right? That's
Let
gonna be
me
a
ask you,
biased
Clementine.
lens.
Clementine, let me ask you.
Why are you
Clementine,
so obsessed with whether or not she's a feminist or
Clementine,
not?
let me ask you a
She's a
question.
Because it would
historian.
promote bias.
Because it
would
would
show
be
bias.
biased.
Let me try and ask a question here. Clementine, do you hate men?
No, of course I don't hate men. What
I mean,
an absurd, reductive question.
Well, why
would
did
you
you
why
tweet-
would you think that
Well,
was
hang
an
on, 'cause I'm
interesting
about to
line
follow
of
up.
questioning,
They hate you.
Piers?
But
I hope
why
they
in
hate you.
2020 did you tweet the coronavirus isn't killing men fast enough?
I tweeted that in 2020 as a misguided tweet,
Oh,
but it was actually
man hater, huh?
much of a part of a longer
Misguided tweet.
thread.
Coronavirus
And
isn't killing
yes,
men
and I
fast
apologize
enough.
for
And you
it,
say you
Piers.
don't hate
I
men.
apologize for it, Piers.
You
I
thought a
apologized
deadly
for it at the
pandemic
time.
virus wasn't killing men
apologize.
fast enough.
Apology, like what? You can't just apologize for that. That's like
Apologize to men again. Do it again. You haven't apologized to me for saying that you want me to die from the coronavirus.
Well,
Now
I would
say
have to
you're sorry.
consider you a man to apologize you for that,
Say you're
Andrew.
sorry. Say you don't even know what a woman is. How
You
you
know
gonna
what
tell me
else?
what a man is?
You know what
Now
else?
I don't-
you're probably like, how do you know what a man is? Does this woman even have a father? Like,
I would
Consider
like
you a
for
man.
Andrew,
Say-
I would
say
like
you're
for her to
sorry.
apologize to me because I do not appreciate her saying that my own husband does not respect me. Of course he respects me. He respects me as a mother.
she also commented on Andrew's like wife or situation. It's like, why the fuck are you commenting on other people's like marriages? Like,
And as a wife, he treats me like gold. Who the hell are you to tell me
like stupid assumptions about other people's like relationships. Like, you don't do that. That's like, no.
if he respects me or not?
You wouldn't have to get paid for this if you had a husband.
I didn't say that he. Where did I even?
You did.
mention?
You said he clearly doesn't
You
respect
did
his
say
wife.
that. I heard you say it.
You mean the piece of shit that you're married to? Yeah, he clearly
Oh,
doesn't
there we
respect
go.
you.
Oh,
he
there
sits
we
there
go.
and
Hey,
makes
lady.
jokes about how
Hey,
he married
lady.
you. He doesn't
He's
do
not
shit
the
around
piece
the
of
house
shit
because
in
that's
this
why you married a
panel.
wife.
That would be you,
That's
man.
why you got a
Right.
You're
wife.
the one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, let's get back to the topic here. You're the one who
Holy shit, what a miserable woman.
is
That would be
insisting
nice.
that there's no data
the
proving
list of
that
topics that we
it's
would
shut
say.
up.
I would
Shut your mouth.
genuinely.
Nobody
Okay, let
wants
me
to
hang
say
on.
that.
Time out. I would genuinely like to know. You said it was misguided to say the coronavirus wasn't killing men fast enough. Why
Yeah, it was
would
a
you?
terrible thing to say.
So why
it was
did
a terrible
you?
thing to say.
No, I
Piers.
understand.
I
it's a
already said that the time.
Don't
it was
worry.
a
Let me
terrible thing
finish
to
my
say.
question. I do understand it's a terrible thing to say. My question, my bemusement. Why would you say that?
Because I was really frustrated with the articles that I was reading about how the pandemic was it was derailing women's workplace. It was derailing women's economic trajectories. And there was a specific article that I had read about a woman who had founded her own company. She was the CEO of it. Her husband had taken a sabbatical prior to the pandemic. And within 2 days of childcare closing down, he said, I can't take care of the 4-year-old. And she quit her job to go home and look after the kid.
What's
I
that
was
got to do with you
frustrated. I
wanting
was
more men
worried.
to be killed?
So that's one
Piers, if you're going to
person.
ask me
Who
the question,
cares?
then let me
Pandemic
finish
No,
it.
you know what,
Let me
Clementine?
answer it.
You know what, Clementine? When you tweet, literally,
So I wrote a tweet
coronavirus
thread.
isn't killing
I wrote-
men fast enough. I think I'm entitled to push you a little bit more than it was a bit misguided. You're literally calling for the mass culling of men while simultaneously pretending
oh my God.
you don't hate
Piers,
men.
Come on, you know that. Don't be disingenuous. You know that that's not what I was calling for. You
Oh, did
know
he
that it was
You
misinterpret the
literally
tweet of
said
kill all men?
coronavirus
Did he
isn't killing
You
men
know that
fast
it was
enough.
a glib tweet, and you know that I also apologized for it shortly after that. You know that I was sincere in my apology.
You didn't apologize
so
to
why
me.
you're dragging it out 5 years
Can
later?
you
Why would you
apologise to
apologize?
Andrew, please?
Well, you
somehow
apologized to me for
prove
saying you wanted me to
that
die.
I would not apologize to you if I did something to you, let
There
alone
we
for
go.
doing nothing to you.
Even if you did something to me,
I
you
don't
wouldn't
consider you
apologize.
Was that the
a
only
person
time,
This is the
Clementine?
kind of
Clement,
unhinged
hang on.
person who wants all the children
I've got a
in
follow
daycare,
up.
by the way.
I have a follow up. Clementine, was that the only time you've tweeted that you want all men to be killed?
Piers, why don't you just say what you want to say?
No, I'm just asking you a question. Have you tweeted
No,
previously?
I have tweeted prior to that.
Kill all men.
As a joke.
As a joke, right?
I have.
As a joke.
So
Very
you
funny.
quite
Very
regularly
funny
think
joke.
it's funny to say that men should be
No,
killed?
I don't quite regularly. There's two examples that you can think of.
Yeah, you don't hate men, but you did tweet kill all men, and then you tweeted the coronavirus isn't killing men fast enough. I put it to you.
Oh, hang on. I put
it to you. You probably do hate men if you want us all dead.
Into the sun.
Huh?
I've also said that men should be fired into the sun. Tell me, at what point do these very clearly glib, and yes, I have apologized for them, very clearly glib tweets from a time as well where Twitter was such a toxic, I don't tweet anymore, it's a bad place for everybody. Okay. At what point do those things be accepted as glib, misguided, regrettable, deeply apologetic for them now, remarks that you would never say again?
You don't sound very apologetic.
I think you should just admit that you don't like men. I think the problem comes when you keep denying.
I don't like you very much, Piers.
I don't care if you like me or not. You spray gun me in public. I couldn't give a damn.
Why do I have to sit here and admit to you that I don't like men? What do you hoping?
I just asked you if you do or not. You said you don't hate men.
I said that I did.
You spend all your time wanting us to be dead.
Me.
Hang on, she loves men. You just gotta shoot him into the sun. That's all.
Shoot him in
the sun. You don't like me. You think Andrew's a piece of shit. So that's every single man involved in this debate. You hate.
Is absurd.
Every man in this debate, Clementine, you've said you hate.
Relationships with men, you shouldn't be giving advice on it.
Emily, what was that?
I hate every man in this debate.
I'm saying, if you live a life where you've been unsuccessful in relationships, whether it's friendship, love, marriage, whatever it is, I think you're probably the last person in the position to be giving advice what women should do with men. I mean, I don't feel any animosity towards men, even when it comes to him
successful in friendships and relationships. That's a very
are you a single mom?
That's a very odd. Well, being a single mother doesn't mean that I'm unsuccessful in relationships.
No. I'm sorry. Oh man, she's a single mother. Okay.
Already said before that I have a very beautiful co-parenting relationship with my son's father. He lives in the same apartment building as us. We're deeply close friends.
That's great,
so
but it didn't work out.
I don't understand.
Man, imagine having her as like your ex.
Why do you think that is? I'm not bitter towards men at all. I'm annoyed at the expectation that some men have. Some men on this panel.
If this woman is not bitter, then who is? Like,
have that women should do everything for them. I'm certainly angry at the fact that in the UK,
do you think Andrew does everything?
I mean, I do everything I can for my boyfriend.
I'm angry that in the UK a woman is killed every 3 days by a man. I'm angry that in America 3 women are killed every day by a man.
How many men are killed every day by a issue?
That's kind of a different.
How many men are killed every day by?
I think probably more men are getting killed by other men, and I mean, if you want to bring up stats, like you can pull out everything, like suicide and stuff like that.
One woman is killed every 10 minutes by an
How many babies do you women kill?
I'm angry about. And I'm angry
how many babies do you guys kill?
This is what they do.
1 in 3 girls over the age of 15 will experience sexual violence in her lifetime.
No,
I'm very angry about that.
That's another fake statistic, and I would love to tear this apart.
Sexual assault. I'm angry about the fact that the most dangerous person to a woman is a man that she knows. I'm angry about all of these things, yes, but that doesn't mean that I hate men. That doesn't mean that I don't.
You just want to shoot them into the sun.
And I have the data to prove it.
For men's greatness with
throw them in a volcano.
Women and with children.
You want to shoot men into the sun, you want them killed by coronavirus, and you want all of us dead, and you hate both the men on the panel. Other than that, you love men. You
love them. You love them. They're great.
Well,
even though they're out there being a bunch of people.
Which is that I hate the men on this panel.
My thing is, like, can't you admit that you at least like men enough that they gave you a beautiful child you're super grateful of? I mean, that's a positive.
This is honestly one of the most absurd conversations I've ever had in my life. I've just sat here and explained that I don't hate men.
Yeah.
I've just sat here and explained that I have a wonderful relationship with my son's father. I've just sat here and said that I've apologized for these things that I've said in the past. We've all said terrible things. Piers, you've said terrible things on Twitter. We've all said terrible things and apologized for them.
Name one. Hang on. What have I said? What have I said? Name one.
Oh, Piers, do you want me to look them up right
Yes,
now?
please.
Okay, let me
Yeah,
just
what-
give me a second.
Tell
to
me
go
a terrible
to
thing
go
I
to,
said on Twitter.
Piers Morgan.
Well,
Terrible
while she's looking,
tweets.
can I refute her fake statistics that she just gave?
A
Because I
history
hear
of Piers
feminists
Morgan's
repeat this all
terrible
the time.
opinions.
Well,
There
go
we
on.
go. I'll look at that.
Give me a terrible opinion.
Oh, Rachel, I thought you were talking while I'm just scrolling through the
yeah.
endless
No,
Well, we can all
you got
wait,
the floor. I
Clementine.
wanna hear it.
Yeah, I mean, we already know it's fucking it's bullshit what she's saying. The worst bosses I've ever had in my life were women trying to prove that they were better than men, and I'm a woman. Yeah, the worst boss I ever had was also a woman. Like one of these like managers. Like holy shit, they're trying to micromanage your every little fucking move. Feminism created a second taxpayer and put the state in charge of bringing up your children. Yeah, kind of already knew that. Asking what a woman is a litmus test to see how crazy someone is. Clementine being a single mom, this was the icing on the cake. Oof. I like these people, like they care about these things that just don't matter. It's like society will slowly fizzle out or get worse in so many ways, and this is the shit they will die for. Like fucking what is a woman? It's like goddamn. Anyway, boys, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. This one was a train wreck. Anyway, boys, I catch you guys on the next one. Take care of yourself.